Good afternoon. Today, the state government had a cabinet meeting. Agenda of importance will be the register of indigenous inhabitants of Nagaland, which have recently been doing the round. After the last cabinet had taken a decision to carry forward the Bano Commission, which has been lying dormant for many years now. So here, a public discourse has also taken place. Many have expressed their views and opinions on it. Some opposing it and expressing their displeasure for various reasons, and some welcoming the step taken by the state government after a long time. I would elaborate a little on the background and the purpose and the intent of the government in bringing about such a decision. Nagaland is a state inhabited by indigenous people. We are a tribal society, and we have recognized tribes who are the natives of this state. Over the years, it has given birth to at least 2 more tribes who have branched out from their parent tribes and added to our list. And these are the natives whose land and forefathers have occupied the state, the present state of Nagaland since time immemorial. So, as in any other parts of the world, natives are the original settlers, and they are the owners of the land that their forefathers have occupied. So, in the present modern context, they, excuse me, they have been given this rare status as an indigenous citizen of those places where they were born and have been raised from. It's a coveted status, and we can understand the desire of others to also acquire this status. But indigenous communities are always very less scarce in population anyway. And their ways of life, their customary practices, their traditions, and their religious beliefs are also different from people in the rest of the world. So when they are merged into an administrative unit in that particular geophysical region, it creates friction whereby in a democracy the majorities will prevail, and that is when the interests of the indigenous community can be marginalized. We've seen it. So for fear of such issues cropping up, certain policies and resolutions are made exclusively for the indigenous community. In our case today, after the 16 points agreement was signed with the government of India in 1960, July 1960, we had an interim period of 3 years 60 to 63. Within this time, we have tried our best to also merge the Naga contiguous inhabited areas of our state into our state, recognized new state. So record have it that we had integration committees also, who spearheaded the negotiation with the other Nagas from the 10 Naga Hills to example. So after extensive deliberations, I think those who could not come in were of the view that they would remain where they were. That is in the state of Manipur, Naga inhabited areas, Assam, Arunachal also. So these are the contiguous Naga inhabited areas within the Union of India and not across the Magneton line in another country. At least within this, we wanted to live together and be integrated. But after their final decision, we relented, yielded to whatever they said, we agreed. And that is how the tribes, the Nagas outside of the state of Nagaland presently have, on their own volition and decision, have chosen to remain back in Manipur. As far as the present Tirap, Changlang and Longding in Arunachal Naga inhabited districts are concerned, negotiations with them to be a part of the state was started before the statehood also. We are told that communication was established in 1957, and in the 3-4 years of the Naga People's Conventions, summing up, drawing up an agreement with the government of India, they were very much invited to be a part of our new state. Unfortunately, communication those days could not be established because of we did not have these systems, and road communication also was very difficult. So it was mostly through the governments, administrators that we used to communicate. Unfortunately, some elements have played a very significant role, I would say, in sabotaging them from coming to the Naga People's Convention throughout 1957, 58, 59, and 60. So in all the at least three general conventions which were held in Kohima, in Uma, and in Wuxu, they could not represent, because they were of the opinion, they were given to understand that there was no such meetings, no such conventions. And I would be frank, it was the Intelligence Bureau, the IP, who had not wanted them to be a part of us. So deliberately, they had not informed them about this meeting. So they could not send their representatives. Now then, after the 16 points agreement was drafted out, our elders still kept a provision for integration of all Naga contiguous areas, as was our desire. And in point number 13 of the 16 points, you would see that that figured integration of contiguous Naga territories. So during the interim period before the full-fledged statehood, like 60, 61, 62, 63, this integration committee had tried to reach out to our people outside and woo them into a part of us. But I think these missions failed, unfortunately. Not because of us, but because of our brothers outside. After the full-fledged statehood was achieved and the state assembly was established, state government was established, elected, the Nagaland Legislative Assembly has gone on record. You will all have the papers. In these last 60 years, 6 decades, successive governments under different leaders, our state assembly has passed resolution to the effect that all Nagas contiguous to our state should be integrated. 6 times resolutions were passed. So now we still aspire and will continue to pursue that goal. But some accusations from certain quarters have come to light that we are not going as per our resolutions. Here I want to make it very clear. 60 years on, 6 times we have set the ball rolling. Come, be a part of us, get integrated. And we roll the balls. The balls have been in their courts for the last 60 years. They have never passed it back to us. They never returned the balls to us. So when there is no reciprocation from our people inhabited outside of the state, certainly the weightage of our case is lighter and has not been taken seriously by the government of India, who continues to say, you are making a claim. Others are not coming forward. It is only your claim. So that is where we have been all these years. Now, in the present day, you see how the situation has arrived surrounding us. All this demographic migration, illegal immigrants invading our state, who has been felt for now more than 2 decades, very seriously. So this government, as well as the successive governments, have been trying to do something about checking the influx of these illegal immigrants, threatening our very existence and our interests in every way. And if we are not cautious and careful and does not take preventive measures, we will become strangers in our own land. India is a democracy. We are a democracy. Ultimately, if we are outnumbered, it will be a completely different story. So these are preventive measures where now, after so long, the government of India and the parliament have at last reinstated the 1873 Bengal Eastern Frontiers Regulation Act, which was there till the eve of India's independence during British India. But after they brought out a new constitution, they drafted a new constitution, the new country did not insert the 1873 Act, Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act, and provided to protect us. So it is after 7 decades that in 2019, December, a new section was added, and this Bengal Eastern Frontiers Regulation Act has been provided again for us. So it became a full-fledged law. Otherwise, it was only an ordinance. I've told you many times, back in 2019 and 20, about that Parliament Act. So it is by chance or an unseen hand was behind, but we got back that status, and now we can fully implement the provisions under this particular Act of 1873, which actually gives the full power for implementation of the inner line permit regulations. So we're glad that we have this protective law. And now, who will fall under the purview of the inner line permit and who should not? When that question comes, we have to be selective. Not every person in the state of Naga is eligible to be given that status of an indigenous citizen. So the government have entrusted our former Chief Secretary, Mrs. Bano, and she and her team have worked very hard to bring out these rules and regulations of the Register of Indigenous Inhabitants of Naga. Here, the government have taken a long time to work out the provisions and how to go about implementing this new law. The recognized Naga indigenous citizens will not be affected of their status, and we have to be selective also among certain indigenous communities which we have generously conferred to them the four sub-tribes like Kukis, Mikhirs, Garos, and Kacharis. Specifically, their names have been mentioned. We have seen in the press that they have reacted sharply to the extent of threatening the government for litigation and dragging us to court if their demands are not met. At the outset, I would say that this is very unbecoming of them. Had they been in another state, I don't know how those respective governments would have treated their case. But for us, we say they've been living with us, so we will have to define a date and a year, set a deadline, and that deadline will be used to identify who were the original settlers living in our state prior to 1963, 1st December, and those of the others who have just come after that date, after the 1st of December, 1963. So their contention is that all Kukis, Mikhirs, Kacharis, and Garos, whoever comes should be conferred that status of being an indigenous citizen of this state. Now here, if they are like us, we are not migrative in nature. We are not nomadic by nature also. Wherever we settle, we are settled there for good, for life. But they have their kids and clans in other states. For example, like Kukis. You'll find them in Manipur, in Assam maybe in Meghalaya also, and here in Nagaland also. Or say like, one example is Garos. Garos are in Nagaland, in Assam, and the major chunk may be from Meghalaya. Likewise, they are scattered over the northeast into so many states. Now, any Garo coming in, any Kuki coming in, settled here for a year, 2, 4, 5 years, starts demanding for an indigenous certificate to be at par with the natives here. That is not permissible. We offer this status and selected only those who have been living with us prior to the 1st of December 1963. and whose parents or grandparents or forefathers have been here, and their names have appeared in the electoral roll of the first state election, general election, 1964. So we make that as a basis. There has to be a basis, not like others. Now, I should say that they should have appreciated and be grateful for this decision that they have taken. A state like Manipur, which achieved its independence only in 1970, not independence, full-fledged state from the Union Territory in 1972, much after us. They have put the cut-off date for this very issue back to 1951. Not even 72, not even 61. But still there are no hue and cries, no reactions. So we are being very generous. We're not pushing further back the cut-off date and trying to accommodate everybody. So the enumeration have to take place. Unless we enumerate these 4 tribes, Kukis, Garos, Mikhirs, we will not be able to identify who falls in that category and who should not be conferred that status. Or here they need to understand that it is an opportunity that we have given them to be a part and parcel of this state forever. Unless we have such kind of categorization, tomorrow anybody from anywhere scattered across the other states may walk in to claim that they are indigenous to our state. And that will be too much of a burden and also a threat to all of us, to the state. That is why we had to work out a certain date, and that is how to make genuine, authentic identifications. We have to go for enumeration. That's on my appeal, that they should not resist, and they should never think of any other options, veil threat to the state. Otherwise, it may compel us to review the very decision we have taken for them even now. That is one. The other is we have also seen reactions from our Nagas inhabited outside who have been not very positive, not welcoming our move for implementation of RIIN. I would like to appeal to all our Nagas inhabited anywhere. No Naga is a fugitive or a vagabond. We are a people who belongs to a certain tribe and then to a certain village, where he or she is born, or his parents and grandparents and forefathers have lived. Wherever Nagas have occupied and are living, they are our lands. They are our lands. And we expect each and every Naga living anywhere to hold on to that land ownership and continue to be a native of wherever we've been born and brought up. Why should we give up? And we talk about integration. We've been fighting for it. Our national workers have been, the top agenda is to integrate us together, wanting to live under one administrative roof. And our national movement is all about that, to live together under a single administrative roof. Now, why we are still aspiring, why we are still fighting, struggling for that aspiration to be achieved? Because unfortunately, we have been divided into at least 4 states, even within the Union of India, and more across the international border in Myanmar. So this is a divide and rule policy of the British Raj, we say, And without our consent, we have been divided into two nations. Without our consent, we have been divided into so many states in different parts, even within this union. So we want to live together by integrating our land and our people under one administrative roof. That is our fight and our aspiration. Now, there are certain misconceptions that not the territory, the geophysical territory, but the demographic shift of populations only would come and live within the 16,000 square kilometers, which cannot accommodate all our Naga populations from across the world. So nobody can deny nobody of the status that he or she is a Naga. And we are always proud. If anywhere, in any other continent also, there are Nagas, we still welcome them with an open arm. But here the fact remains, because we have not been able to be integrated geophysically, our territory, our lands could not merge together under a single administrative roof. The fight is on, the struggle is on, and our aspirations still are alive. Regardless of the political status we may finally acquire, we still want to live together under one administrative roof. That is our aspiration. So I think nobody should obstruct us if we want to presently make a fence of the territory that our state occupies. After keeping it open for about 60 years now, no fencing, no gate, anybody just thoroughfares within our state. We had no complaints. But the degree of threat that is confronting us now has compelled us to start fencing our land and protect our interests and our people. So let the same thing happen, let the same policies be made in the respective states wherever Nagas are inhabited. And I'm sure all the Nagas living outside of these states are also given the indigenous status in their respective states. They have the protection and they have acquired the status also. So we don't mind if Naga tribes from Nagaland are not given indigenous certificate in Manipur, Assam, or Arunachal. We don't mind. We're happy for them. Just like that, today if we want to identify the citizens who are natives here and want to confer this indigenous status to them, I think no other Nagas should ever complain about it. And our aspiration and struggles will continue. The day we are able to remove all these boundaries by which we have been divided administratively, we will merge into one big Nagaland. And that day, finally, we will remove all these boundaries. But that has to happen by integrating the geophysical, our territories together, and our people also together. So that is one area which I would request everyone to understand and not have any misgivings about further dividing the Naga people also under which accusations they are making to us. That is our bill. So that's about RIIN, and our government today, we have again discussed with the agencies that will be implementing to be cautious and make authentic surveys and expedite the process of this enumeration also and bring out the register as early as possible. It is the administration, because it is clearly written there that it would involve the village council, first at the lowest level. Then it comes up to the subdivision administrative level. Then that is where in the respective deputy commissioners' districts, the tribal councils will also be involved. Then after that, only the respective deputy commissioners will forward to the government, to be specific, the commissioner, after authenticating and screening out only those genuine cases to be considered. So it will come up to the government's level. But implementation is going to be very tricky. So unlike those other years where a village council simply just certifies and hands out the indigenous certificate, recommends, or an extra assistant commissioner, or a subdivisional civil officer, or an additional deputy commissioner will no longer be able to, competent enough to certify. Only the deputy commissioners, and that too, they will forward it to the commissioner here. So it will be, everything will be centralized, and it's being planned out carefully. We have to be cautious. I feel that would be a huge loss for them, because these are certain measures to restrict anybody from getting this status. Inline permit, RIIN, these are restrictions. It's a filtering process. So instead of facilitating people from acquiring that status, it is to restrict and scrutinize those applying for it. So it's the other way around here. We don't have to invite anybody. In fact, we have one too many. And so we're trying to screen out. So if anybody voluntarily refuses to come and prove his or her identity, then I think it's a wrong step, and that would be a huge loss for them. Because we are certainly going to have not only the cutoff year, but a last date of entertaining applications of the persons. So one should not behave like that.